We will be watching, Paula. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, one of the men mistakenly deported to El Salvador is, of course, Garcia, who you've heard so much about. The Trump administration is sticking to its vow to never bring him back to the U.S. Abrego Garcia, who is married to a U.S. citizen, has no criminal record, was in the U.S. Lawfully. He had an order that said he should not be deported to El Salvador. He remains locked inside that notorious Salvadoran mega prison where he has been now for the past month. And in a tense hearing on Tuesday, we heard a little bit more from one of the federal judges.
Yeah, a federal judge scolded the administration for providing no evidence that it's following her orders to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. Despite that, Attorney General Pam Bondi had this to say.
He is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back. There was no situation ever where he was going to stay in this country. None. But he's from El Salvador, he's in El Salvador, and that's where the president plans on keeping him.
CNN's Priscilla Alvarez joins us now. Priscilla, the judge now says that she wants sworn depositions from Trump officials as part of this 2-week fact-finding mission. Walk us through what that means.
The federal judge really wants a record. She wants there to be evidence that is submitted to the court. I have been at one of these court hearings, monitoring the other ones, and she, in every single one of these settings, has been asking the Justice Department to really give her anything to go off of. Evidence about how exactly he got onto this plane that was sent to El Salvador last month, but also any more evidence on him, because as we have seen, the administration has said a lot about him and his ties to MS-13, and there has been this ongoing court proceeding where those filings could have been submitted. So this is just part of the federal judge just trying to seek more information as to what exactly happened here, because the administration has already conceded that it made an error in sending him to El Salvador, given the fact that an immigration judge in 2019 said that he couldn't be sent there. Now, the Attorney General is right. It's very possible that if he were to be returned, they could remove him again to any other country, because that is what withholding of removal means. It just means he couldn't be sent to El Salvador, but he was still removable from the United States. Now, she also referenced, the Attorney General, what the Salvadoran president said in the Oval Office, and that similarly came up during the court hearing yesterday. But the federal judge said, that's fine. That happened in a public forum, essentially. But I need the evidence here before me in the court of law. And that is what's missing, and that is what part of this 2-week discovery is going to be. As far as what happened next, the track record has shown over the course of this case that the Justice Department has not wanted to provide evidence. In fact, one of the attorneys said so very bluntly, said that the administration made the choice to provide zero evidence. So we'll see what happens from here. There's this 2-week period now where that could be the case. But she said this as well yesterday. She said, quote, "It is a fact now of this record that every day Mr. Garcia is detained in Sacat is a day of irreparable harm." So really the bottom line in all of this is the federal judge wants to know what happened here, what the administration is doing, if anything, to facilitate his return, regardless of what senior Trump officials are saying in the public forum. She wants to see it before her court. We'll see what happens next. But again, so far the Justice Department has stonewalled some of her questioning in court.
Priscilla Alvarez, thank you so much for the update there. With us now to discuss is Duncan Levin. He's a former federal prosecutor and now the managing partner of Levin and Associates. Thanks so much for being with us. What is your reaction to this finding from Judge Boasberg that probable cause exists to hold the Trump administration in contempt?
Well, obviously, they have done everything possible to infuriate the judge. And it's not really just because of the deliberate violation of the court order, but they've really made a mockery of his authority with some of the tweets that they've sent out and celebrating the defiance of his order. But the fact is clear that the TRO was put in place. They ignored it and continued on with these flights out of the country, celebrated it, and then came into court and stonewalled and obstructed the proceedings, saying that state secrets were at issue. They wouldn't tell him anything. When they did tell him things, they made up completely bizarre post hoc rationalizations about why they removed him. It's a mess, and I think it's sort of you hear a lot of talk these days about a constitutional crisis, but we're approaching the point where the judge, if he wants to move forward with this contempt, is going to have a hard time even enforcing it. And the executive branch is teasing him with that, and it makes for a real crisis where both sides are going to be at a détente soon enough where they don't really have power to do anything. So it's as they say, a constitutional mess.
So a constitutional mess. Is it a constitutional mess that is ultimately resolved in some way by the Supreme Court?
Well, the thing is that this is a mess that is really coming to a head over the power of the executive branch versus the judicial branch. And in many ways, it's like the case that we're seeing in Garcia, where the executive branch is testing what powers the courts have to stop them from ignoring due process. The executive branch is clearly saying that the ends justify the means. And when you hear the Attorney General of the United States say that somebody was definitely never going to be in the United States, it's beside the point. The point is we have protections in place, due process in place to make sure that mistakes aren't made, or to the extent possible. And the executive branch doesn't seem to care much about that. And so even if this goes to the Supreme Court, where it has here, I don't know that that's going to solve the issue.
In the case of Abrego Garcia, we heard Attorney General Bondi today reiterating that he's not coming back to the United States from El Salvador. What are the chances that this case also ends up with some kind of contempt finding?
I think the parallels between these two matters are unmistakable. In both cases, the president is trampling over due process in the name of what he thinks is the greater good. And that may or may not be, and that's a political determination for the executive branch on how to deal with migrants and how to deal with people who are here without proper papers, et cetera. But these protections are here to ensure that that mistakes are not made to the extent possible. And in both of these cases, the executive branch is just ignoring it. And so there are distinct parallels between these two cases. And even if the Supreme Court gets involved, which it has, by the way, in this TRO case with Judge Boasberg, it's definitely going to get back up to the Supreme Court. But in the Garcia case, the executive branch is taunting the court, saying, well, if they put him on a plane back, we'll welcome him back into the country. That is not what the court is saying. The court is saying, go get him back. You made a mistake. And the executive branch is taunting the courts on that, saying, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And so it's just open. It's they're openly mocking the courts. And I think that's really why we're at the precipice of a very disastrous clash between two co-equal branches of government. That's what this is about.
Co-equal branches of government is what they are supposed to be. That is clearly not the view, though, from one of those branches. Duncan Levin, appreciate it. Thank you.
Right.
Still ahead here, the president ramping up his attacks on Harvard, accusing the school of teaching hate and stupidity.